So before Christmas, we were looking at how to convert between fractions to decimals and decimals to fractions. Today, we're going to incorporate percentages in that by looking at how we convert between fractions, decimals and percentages, and how we can use that to order numbers written in a mixture of these forms. So first of all, let's have a reminder how we convert from a decimal to a percentage and back again. So to convert from a decimal to a percentage, so going forward this way, decimal to a percentage, we need to multiply by 100. So if we have a look at these examples up here, 0.35 multiplied by 100, we can move the decimal point 2 places to the right, 1, 2, so that would give us 35%. 0.06 multiplied by 100, again move the decimal point 2 places, 1, 2, so that would give us 6%. And for a decimal of 0.2, if we move the decimal point 2 places to the right, 1 would give us 2. If we move it another place to the right, we'd have to put in a 0, so that would be 20%. So converting a decimal to a percentage, we need to multiply by 100. Therefore, working back the other way, to go from a percentage back to a decimal, we would need to do the opposite, so we'd need to divide by 100. So let's just see how that works for these three examples here. 18%, so divide by 100 means we need to move the decimal point 2 places to the left. So on 18, the decimal point would come after the 8. So if we go back to the left 1 and then 2, our decimal point would be before the 1, so we'd get 0.18 as a decimal. For 2%, our decimal point is to the right of the 2, so going back 2 places to the left, 1, and then for a second place to the left, we're going to have to put in a 0, so we get 0.02 as a decimal. And the last one, 40%, so our decimal point is to the right of the 0, back 2, 1, 2 is going to be 0.4 as a decimal. Now then, let's have a look at converting between a fraction and a percentage and back again. So let's just start by starting with a fraction and converting it to a percentage, so going this way. So in order to do this, we need to put our fraction over 100. Percentage is always out of 100, so if we can make our fraction as a fraction out of 100, then we can take the numerator as the percentage. So if we look first of all at 4/10, we want to put that over 100. That means the denominator has been multiplied by 10. Therefore, we need to multiply the numerator by 10. So we get 40 out of 100, which is 40%. If we had 9 out of 20, if you remember, again, we want to get it out of 100. And we've talked about before, it's very useful to know that 20 multiplied by 5 is 100, so multiply the denominator by 5. That means we need to multiply the numerator by 5. 9 times 5 is 45, so that gives me 45%. So that's going from a fraction to a percentage. Find an equivalent fraction over 100. If we want to go back the other way, so if we're starting with a percentage and we want to go back to a fraction, remember percentages are out of 100, so we can put our percentage as a fraction over 100 and then just simplify it. So let's just look at these two examples here. So 42% is the same as 42 over 100, and we can simplify that by dividing numerator and denominator by 2, which gives me 21 out of 50. So 42% is the same as 21 over 50. 8%, again, is a percentage, so that's the same as 8 out of 100. That can be simplified. We can divide numerator and denominator by 4 this time. Let's just write that on there. You can divide by 4, or you could divide by 2 and then spot that you can divide by 2 again. If we divide by 4, 8 divided by 4 is 2, and 100 divided by 4 is 25. So 8% is the same as 2 out of 25. Let's have a look at how we can use this to order a combination of fractions, decimals and percentages. And we're going to put these in order from the lowest to the highest, which is the same as ascending order. And what we're going to do, in order to do that, we're going to convert everything to percentages. We could convert everything to decimals or everything to fractions, but actually I think it's easier to convert everything to percentages and then easier to do the ordering. So we're going to convert everything to percentages. So for our decimal 0.4, to convert a decimal to a percentage, we need to remember we've got to multiply that by 100. So 0.4 multiplied by 100, move the decimal point 2 places to the right, 1, 2, that's going to be 40%. 9 over 25, so that's a fraction, so we need to get that as a fraction over 100, and we've just seen that 25 times 4 is 100, so we've multiplied 25 by 4 to get 100, so we need to do 9 times by 4, which is 36. So 9 over 25 as a percentage is 36%. 38%, well, that's already a percentage. And again, 7 over 20, we need to get that as a fraction out of 100. So quite useful to remember again that 20 times 5 is 100. So we're going to multiply the numerator by 5 as well, which gives me 35 out of 100, or 35%. Let's just pop on the 9 over 25. What did we do there? We multiplied the top and bottom by 4. So now we've got everything as percentages, it's much easier to order them. I can see that my 35% is lowest. Well, that started off as a fraction, which was 7 over 20. And then next is 36%. That was a fraction, it started off as 9 out of 25. Then I've got 38%. Well, that was originally a percentage, 38. And then the highest is 40%, which was 0.4. So what I'd like you to have a go at now, in your exercise books, you can put the title, which is on your class notebook page, converting between fractions, decimals and percentages, and then I want you to have a go at this example. So you can pause the video and try this example, and then when you've tried it you can start the video again and we will have a look and you can see if you are correct. So just pause the video and try this one. So hopefully you've had a go at this one. If we start with the 6 over 40, you might not have seen straight away how to get that over 100, but we did do some like this when we were converting fractions to decimals. Sometimes we have to go to a simplified fraction first. So actually we can get this as a fraction over 10, then we could go to 100 from there. So if we divided the 40 by 4, that would give me a fraction over 10, but actually we can't divide the 6 by 4, so that's not so easy. But what we could do is we could divide the 40 by 2 and put that as a fraction over 20, and then we divide the 6 by 2, so that gives me 3 over 20, and then we can go to 100 from there, because we know that actually to get from 20 to 100 we can times by 5. So that one we've had to do in a couple of steps, and 3 times 5 is 15, so 6 over 40 is 15%. 0.08 as a percentage times by 100, that's 8%. 1/8 is one of those ones that is in your table in your books, one of those ones that you need to just know. And we said in our books that's the same as 0.125 as a decimal. If we times that by 100, that's 12.5%. And the last one, 18%, is already as a percentage. So now if we put these in order, we start with 8%, which is 0.08, and then we can see we've got 12.5%, which is 1/8, 15%, which is 6/40, and last of all, the highest is 18%. So what we're going to do now, we're going to do some practice at converting everything to percentages and ordering. So you're going to have a choice. The challenge is the percentage, decimal and fraction conversion table. So you can do that one, which has got slightly easier numbers to convert, or you can do the order, fractions, decimals and percentages sheet. So the challenge or the super challenge. When you've finished whichever of those you did, then I want you to make a start on the sheet percentages, converting fractions and decimals, which you will be finishing for homework. If you go back to the class notebook page for this lesson, then it will have all the sheets and the further instructions.